Hello, hello, everybody.
Hey Jim.
Welcome, welcome,
Hey everyone.
welcome. This is going to be an exciting one today for sure. As people trickle in, if you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from, what city you're at, or what country, since I'm expecting somewhat of a international crowd, given we got a couple people that are guests today from France. So, welcome, Xavier, Tristan. Okay, it looks like Randy's in here. Hey, Randy. Hello from Denver. Love it. We've got a great episode today on the Data Tea. This is our second Data Tea ever since we've renamed it from Coffee with Coalesce, and I couldn't be more excited to have Tristan, Xavier, the co-founders of CastorDoc, which is now part of the Coalesce platform. Obviously, we got Satish. I'm Armand Petrosian. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Coalesce. Welcome, both of you. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Thank you, Armin, for those kind words.
Yeah, my pleasure. I think, just at a high level, we announced this acquisition and our two companies joining forces last week. It's been incredibly well received from our customer base, and a lot of people are very excited. I think the data industry and thought leaders have talked about consolidation in the modern data stack for a really long time, but nobody has really done anything associated with it. And so for the first time ever, CastorDoc and Coalesce, being two companies in the modern data stack from different categories, are joining forces to bring as much value as possible to data practitioners' lives. And I couldn't be happier to do it with the two of you and the rest of the team from CastorDoc and now being able to offer that as part of the Coalesce platform. So for everybody that is curious about you both and the company, I always love the founding story. Could you two share how you all started? I know the story. I think it's a great one, but can you two share for the audience here how this even came to be in the first place?
Yeah, sure thing. I can take this one.
Okay.
Sharing a bit about the private life, because with Xavier we've known each other for quite some time now. We met both during our master degree in France. So we used to study data science in an engineering school, and we met on the first day of our master degree. Xavier arrived on a skateboard late in our first econometrics course. I was like, okay, this guy is going to be my friend. And then both of us went. Actually, we interned in companies in the US for 6 months. Xavier went in San Francisco. I was in New York for 6 months as well. And at the end of those internships, we gathered. We did a road trip on the A1 from San Francisco to actually San Diego. So from Armand to Satish. Maybe that was an early sign. And at that point in time, we knew we wanted to launch something together. And obviously, being data scientists, data analysts at the time, what we've done with CastorDoc and in the data cataloging, data discovery space was too obvious for us not to launch something. So we finished our studies, started to launch, and two of our first beta users, customer-ish, we didn't have any company at the time, but joined us as other co-founders. So we're not only two. There are two others on the crew that are not on this podcast, but Amaury and Arnaud, that are our CPO and CTO, were our first testers of our early product. And then we got together, the four of us, and we agreed like this was too obvious. We had too many early signs of traction. There was something missing on that part of the data stack, not to just go and launch. And you know what they say, launch now. So that's what we did. And 4 years later, here we are with Xavier and getting to meet you. And so we'll probably talk about how we got together. That's the early signs, the early story of Castor.
That's awesome. Yeah, Satish and I did not go to school together. So in case anybody was wondering, that is a sweet story. I love that you two were close friends prior to starting the company. I think Satish and I, we met through work, but it's been like a decade now and running, and a really fun journey for us too. But a very different story, I would say, and it's awesome to see that. I also am glad you mentioned Arnaud and Emery are two of the other co-founders. So there's four co-founders from the CastorDoc team. And yeah, man, I mean, the early product must have been so good. They just had to jump on board and join you guys as the
Exactly.
first two beta customers.
Yeah,
That's great.
a software product built by two data scientists. What can go wrong? You know?
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
A fun anecdote about that is like when Amory actually arrived in the company and started working on the product, he just looked at the code we built and he was like, "Who are the terrorists who wrote this code?"
It's a good thing. It's a good thing he joined early and was able to get the foundation built properly moving forward. He's done a great job. But by the way, for anybody in the audience listening, feel free to hit the Q&A if you have any questions for Tristan or Xavier, or for Satish and I too. But we want this to be as interactive as possible, and more than happy to answer questions live as they come in. So I see a couple other people mentioned where they're at. Hey, Steven. Hey, Susan. Congrats on the new role at Group 1001, by the way. A couple other questions for you two. So, obviously, like both Satish and I, we've had quite the journey together here, starting Coalesce almost 5 years ago. I'm sure, you two, prior to us meeting, have gone through all types of different situations throughout the time you started CastorDoc and the inception of it. Like any challenges or lessons learned as you went through that entire experience?
Yeah, tons. Tons of challenges for sure. Tons of lessons learned. I think like one of the biggest challenge and lesson learned for us was, I think company-wide, was how do you take a product that was designed for mid-market and how do you grow into an enterprise sales motion company and an enterprise product. We thought initially that this would be like an easy cruise and just be like talking to a larger company. But the reality is that there are so many implications across the product, the sales, the go-to-market, the positioning, that it took us a year and a half to get there. But that was a super exciting company-wide story and journey.
Yeah, that was like a big mission. I know when we met first, which wasn't that long ago, just a few months ago. It was kind of crazy, but I mean, it's super clear to both Satish and I, the product is incredibly strong. I think you guys invested a ton into making it enterprise grade, and it wasn't always that way, right? You focused on kind of like scale ups and growth stage businesses at the beginning, but then shifted towards more enterprise focus near the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think we had a journey that's similar to a lot of founders starting to launch SaaS products. It's just easier at first to sell to smaller companies. Sales cycle are shorter, and it just makes more sense. Like we were closer as well with Amory's and Arnaud's background to that ecosystem. We've been working for scale-ups. We've been having friends in scale-ups. Like this was like kind of our ecosystem. This is where we started. So yeah, it's kind of, I think, a common journey. And lots of things were learned there.
Yeah.
What about you, Tristan? Anything come to mind on your side, just in general? If you were to speak to yourself a few years ago and be able to give yourself some advice, or maybe to another founder at an earlier stage, what would you say to them?
I think one of the biggest challenges I had personally was sticking to my conviction. You start the journey with really clear ideas about what you want to do, what is your experience, what are your convictions, and sticking to them as you start to learn, to hear more, to look at how things were done in the past, how you want to innovate, and getting pushback, sometimes losing some important deals, sometimes learning from customers, having to push back, and ultimately coming back to, no, actually, what we do is something that is different. We're going to get challenged, but I think that's good and that's necessary. Like if you want to innovate, if you want to bring something new to the market and not do something just slightly better, but just like 100 times better, you need to bring something different, and sticking to our conviction, especially on the governance space, which is not often the most sexy and exciting one. How we make that actually useful, actionable, and not dive into tons of other layers of complexity. Sometimes we are getting pushed there because the market used to thought this way, but sticking to our conviction about simplifying the entire data experience has been both a challenge and something we've actually embraced throughout the years, even going enterprise, even going with way more complex data ecosystem. And I think that's what we've managed to do very well, but that has been a big challenge of our journey.
What Tristan is trying to say as well is that we're a stubborn crew. we have high convictions and we like to push them through for to the end, and that was really something that, at least from the catalog perspective, we really had the conviction that it shouldn't just be a tool for like compliance and regulations purpose, but it should really be something that was used to enable data people to do a better job. And that's kind of the core conviction that the four of us really have, and that I think the Coalesce team really has as well. And we've been like really aligned on that particular like core conviction on both sides.
The product philosophy. Go ahead, Satish.
I just want to follow up on Tristan's point where he mentioned the governance is not sexy, not exciting. Why do you think that is? I mean, it's been that way forever, to be honest. I mean, I have my thoughts, but I just want to hear why do you guys think that is, despite being it's so important for an organization to succeed in their data strategy?
The way governance was brought to the market was through regulation and compliance. Like it was something that was enforced, that had to be enforced. And so it was always seen as a constraint more than an enabler. And the way the first catalogs and governance products were thought and built were part of, okay, companies need to comply now. We need to build something that's going to make them comply. And so how we lock things down, how we make things like more processed to control everything. And so it has always been seen and perceived as the constraint. Whereas there are tons of things that you can benefit from as a consumer, as someone who's working in Coalesce, who's transforming the data as a data producers from those governance platforms. But they've never been thought this way. And now when everyone hears and think about data governance, like it's not like that's the last thing you want to hear about when you're producing and working with data, right? It's something that's going to be enforced to you. And it has always been thought this way. And I think the beauty of what we're doing together is that we're making it like seamless for anyone who's building data, for anyone who's consuming data. And it becomes part of the way people are working with data and not an afterthought, something that is enforced, something that some authority come back and force you to do something with it. So we're changing the rules of the game here. And I think this is what's exciting. But yeah, just for the fun fact, the anecdotes, the first manifesto that we ever wrote at Castor was Arnaud's one, and was why I hate the word data catalog. And at the beginning of our journey, we didn't want to be a data catalog because it was just a nightmare for everyone. Like, no one wants to do a data catalog. And ultimately, it's still like, there are some benefits to get attached to a category because people have budget for this. It's easier to pitch, but that's where we're coming from. It's like not the compliance, not the heavy lift, very complex governance that ultimately had delivered a little value.
Do you call that?
What do you think?
Do you call that the shift left governance? Is this?
Yeah, absolutely. Shifting left, making sure it's implemented like at the beginning of the data development lifecycle. Like when you build something, that's where you have the context about it. That's where you're building a transformation. You know why you're doing this. You know what you're trying to achieve. And if you don't document at the moment you're building it, someone will have to document it in 2 years from now, having no clue what was the context of why you've built that at this point in time. So by making sure we get the best practices of documenting, testing, tagging at the moment you're creating, because that's when you have the entire context, and making it available in a catalog, that's why this entire story, the thing that we're bringing to the market, is so powerful. So making sure, it's embedded in the development of new data assets.
Satish, I got a question for you about that as well. Go ahead, Xavier.
I was just gonna say that this is something that also relates like really closely to the story, and I think that's where your question was headed as well. But
definitely,
like shifting data governance left also means basically like how do you get as close as possible to where people start creating, start building, and I think that's where we really align a lot as like both companies joining forces. Is how do we see that? But Armand, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Your question here.
It's a good mention because I've had quite a few observations going through this acquisition together with you guys, and first and foremost, like I love the rebellious story around data catalogs in the first place for Castor and the team. Like it's pretty obvious now talking to so many of the data catalog customers for other data cataloging players, how low the adoption is for something that's so expensive for an organization to purchase. And one of the core philosophies that both of our companies share was to keep it simple, have the product be intuitive, have it be approachable, and allow it to serve a much broader audience. We applied that philosophy to data transformations to help people develop more efficiently. You applied it to data catalogs, which is something that, as we've been talking to so many of our customers, Tristan, hearing over and over and over again, oh, we bought this, XYZ data catalog, but it never really fulfilled the purpose because people aren't able to use it properly, which is just wild to me. And so I think the assumption that was made there and the mentality that you all had makes perfect sense. And we're now seeing that translate into the enthusiasm from the Coalesce customers and some of the other organizations that are looking at both of our products together under one platform. I think the most exciting thing about this and us being the first two modern data companies to join forces is the ability for us to actually solve the data governance problem once and for all with this whole concept of shifting governance left. And so, Satish, for you mentioned you have some thoughts on governance. You've implemented every product and tool in the market throughout your career. You've gone through with major financial institutions that had massive governance needs. Like, what's most exciting to you about this for our customers and for, if you were using the Coalesce platform 20 years ago when you were going through a major implementation, like what about this was most exciting to you from a conceptual standpoint and for all the people listening?
If I have to say one word, it's the simplicity. It is so simple. It's to start, and that's how you get the adoption. Because governance and regulation, as Tristan pointed out, it's too complicated. A lot of times it's overblown, and you start with a big bang approach, and then you don't get anywhere with the data strategy. It's the simplistic nature of the tool, but the way that the application or the platform has been built with the discovery capabilities, which is a big thing. You want to find things first before you can do anything. And also meeting the user where they are. That's another big thing I've seen with this. If you spend all your time in Slack, you don't really want to go somewhere else to ask a question or discover something. So you can ask from there, right there. So all those things kind of drive adoption. And in our goal, as Armand, you pointed out, we have always tried to keep it simple. Keep it simple, but no simpler, of course. It has to be useful. It has to be very powerful. But that idea of making it easy to use, accessible to everybody, is what resonates with this platform for me. I wish I had this one 20 years ago or 15 years ago.
Well, it's funny because that's kind of the same thing Tristan and Xavier went through. They wanted to scratch their own itch, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've done some of this type of work on Excel with people, just writing out rules, writing out policies, but it just gets hard pretty quickly because it doesn't scale that way either. And then you go look in the market for tools, and these are like super complicated tools. So this one falls at the right level.
And it defeats the entire purpose. Like the reason why you need governance is because your data environment has grown too quickly, too big, and you can't control, and you don't know what you have. And if you add another layer of complexity, it's not solving anything. So it defeats the entire purpose of why you're looking for governance in the first place. If you add something even more complex to solve the fact that it's already too complex. So it's what has been challenging, indeed, making it simple, not simplistic.
Yeah. Historically, we had some sort of like we had like an equation that was important for us at Castor. It was like basically the more data you have, the more people you have working with that data, the more tools you have, basically generates the more chaos. And that's kind of how, in the early days, and we're still kind of having that right now, and using that equation to understand like how much of a pain the customer is feeling about their own like data estates and data environments, is like how many of these like tools do they have to do the same thing, or to like how many different people roles are doing different things in different business units, like different organization in a federated or like organization that can get really complex really fast. And having a complex tool to handle that is just like exploding this whole equation. But the main complexity of building the data catalog and governance tool in itself is like you need to ingest all that complexity, and then the output needs to be simple, easy, understandable by a bunch of different roles, tools, people. And I think that's where the magic of doing it right really resonates, or not.
I think Satish has a great quote about this that stuck with me around you can't solve a complex problem with a complex solution. And so in order to actually be successful in solving complex problems, which is, I mean, the whole data space is riddled with complicated problems to solve. We felt so strongly that you have to simplify that and make it intuitive and approachable, certainly from a transformation standpoint. And then, like you said, when you've got a sprawl of team members of different skill sets with different technologies, to consolidate all that information, it's got to be done in a way that is simplified as well, without sacrificing any of the extensibility or without sacrificing any of the ability to support that complexity. So yeah, it's exceeded my expectations going through this journey, like post acquisition. Tristan, you and I have spent a ton of time together, meeting with customers, meeting with organizations, showing them the catalog product. What has been your feedback, or what have been your observations? Like I've shared with you, obviously Satish and I, we focus on the transformation space. I've learned a lot about the cataloging sector and governance recently. What about for you? Like any learnings coming out of these calls with different organizations and different team members on the flip side?
Definitely that there's still a lot of opportunities to get better for both of our customers as well as what's going on. I feel we have such great technologies in our hands. Most of your customers, if not all of them today, work with Snowflake, which is a crazy powerful platform. They have Coalesce, they can do a lot of things. And it feels like there are still some places, moments, teams where even the simplest KPIs are not right yet. And I feel like there's such a big paradox between how powerful and how deep we can go into AI use cases, machine learning, data science use cases, and sometimes just getting the right tricks to the right people at the right time. And it's just crazy to me. And I think, again, part of simplifying the experience and making those two products work together, it's about, just the foundation right. And then, everyone talks about AI, it needs what we're providing to be able to build trusted and reliable AI. And we can feel it from some of our customers, like even the basic reporting is not done right or is already too complex to be trusted. Building AI on top is going to be even more complex. So I'm glad we're finally providing all-in-one solution to make sure the data is built in the right way, governed in the right way, and it's going to enable so many more deeper, advanced use cases for our customers.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because one of the other observations I've had, it's similar to this, but we launched out of stealth just over 3 years ago, and we've had rapid adoption of Coalesce, and a lot of times that's associated with data engineering projects or data warehousing projects. And so there is a bit of a maturity curve that our customers have gone through, and it feels like the timing of us joining forces and going down the circuit and showing the catalog to all of our customers right now couldn't have been better. Like, the feedback we keep hearing is like, oh, this is perfect timing. Like, we were just, now that we're completing our data projects and we've got velocity where we're building all the different dashboards that we need, getting the data prepared the way that we need it to be. Now we need to actually broadcast this throughout the organization and make it broadly accessible. And so it's felt like, from a sequential workflow standpoint, like, the timing has been really ideal for a lot of the organizations that have been adopting Snowflake, adopting Coalesce, and now thinking about how they can actually democratize what they've built, the hard work that they've put in for the rest of their enterprise, the rest of their organization, which I think we all knew, right? Like, we otherwise we wouldn't have done this. Like, you all didn't need to do this. You didn't need to join forces with us. We didn't need to join forces with you, but we felt so strongly that 1 + 1 would equal 3 here. And I've felt very validated going through these calls with you, Tristan. I felt very reinforced that this was such an awesome decision for all the organizations that we work with and interact with so far. So hopefully you're feeling the same way.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a ton of fun. And it doesn't hurt that you guys are based in Paris either. I know Satish and I have enjoyed.
That was a factor in all of this. Yeah.
That was actually the main determining factor, was that we get to go to France now more frequently. Yeah, no, it's been awesome. So you touched a little bit on it, Tristan, but I'd be curious, given what you're sharing, like, we're seeing firsthand where organizations are at on the maturity curve when it comes to analytics, but everybody does want to do more with AI. I think you both and the team at Castor invested a lot into AI opportunistically very early. In fact, I would say earlier than we did, Satish, at least made that as a really big focus for you all, and was one of the really exciting aspects of us working together. And so when you think about agentic AI, how it impacts organizations, or how organizations are planning on leveraging it, what are you most excited about there for our joint customers and our roadmap right now? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I think we can separate it in 3 use cases, 3 important ones. And whenever we start talking about AI, I really like to make the distinction between those 3 different paths where we can apply AI tomorrow with both of our products. The first one is how AI can help the governance team, like generating description, generating policies, identifying some of the PIIs, understanding the lineage in natural language. Like, this is built in the catalog, and it is just brings so much innovation and ease of use to actual governance tools. And that's the first use case. So just AI on top of our product, just like any other product, any CRM, bringing AI to CRM, bringing AI to catalog is already a huge step forward in making it simpler. Like, AI is mostly about bringing the barrier of entry to knowledge down. Catalog is where the knowledge about data is, and that enables so many use cases. Then the second one is a lot of the dream regarding data analytics is a few weeks, months away from being a reality, like the famous text to insight, asking the questions. Everyone think about it. We have tons of different tools. Snowflake Cortex is one of the closest one we have. But everyone has very rapidly realized that it actually needs more metadata. And the same way an analyst spends hours understanding what the columns mean, where they should start, what is reliable, AI is not more intelligent than us. They would need exactly the same type of metadata to understand what each column means, how things are supposed to be joined, how a specific metric needs to be computed. So it reinforces the need for governance on that like agent, analytic agent that we're getting closer to having it as a reality. And then there's the broader AI use cases, like building an AI model on top of the Snowflake data for a specific marketing or a specific sales or a specific customer success use case. And that same thing can get enabled by what we're providing, like getting visibility onto the quality, onto what are the reliable data sets, onto obviously the entire metadata around the different tables, columns, data that you can use. But I don't want to get hyped with AI. And so that's why really separating the three, like what are we talking about when we talk about AI? Like a lot of the customers we've been talking to, they're like, oh yeah, we need to implement AI. And which one of those three are they? I think it's very important to differentiate, but all of them like benefit a lot from both the Transform and the catalog product of Coalesce today.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it helps get them to AI as an actual reality, right? Like that is a really important precursor to being able to take on any of those use cases with their data. And us being able to incorporate AI into our product is super helpful for specific use cases. I think particularly with the catalog, obviously with the transformation side of the house as well. So what about you, Satish? What about you from a future standpoint, thinking about what was most exciting for you on the roadmap and functionality of the two products coming together under one platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I always say this, there are two main parts to the data strategy implementing successfully at an organization. One is like, how fast can you take this raw data and put it in front of the business for them to kind of look at it? Because that's usually a lot of times that's a big problem in itself. Like people don't have access to the data. So that, I believe, that's where Coalesce really shines, because it enables so many data practitioners to build these pipelines very quickly and put it in front of the business. As soon as you do that, the second part is the business is going to start asking questions. Is this data right? Is that right? Is this right? So the second part is the trust. So what I'm excited about, that's where the data governance, that's where CastorDoc really, really shines. So now we really have that 1 + 1 greater than 3 thing, which is a comprehensive platform that brings both business and the IT, the data engineers, whatever methodology you use, like have them kind of collaborate and build that trust on one single platform. So that's possible with this. There's so many use cases. We won't have the time, but I can give you one example. You guys have this tags feature. You can tag things as PII or tag things or as for cost or budget, whatever you want to tag it. You can create a tag. You can assign something, and I can see as soon as you tag in the catalog, we can take that tag in the transformation and automatically apply the policy. If it is a PII, we can mask it. If it is something else, a quality tag, we can have a template just run the code for you. You don't even have to do anything. It's all visible. We always make it transparent. But there's just one use case where we can start implement, not just defining, because business defines, but eventually it has to be implemented also and enforced. There are two different things. And usually when you have just a catalog, then you just have the definitions, but somebody has to go and enforce it. If you have just the transformation, then they don't know the definitions. Nobody defined for them because IT, they're coming up with their own stuff, and that's not good either. These two in combination is very powerful.
It's kind of crazy it's taken this long for this to happen within the industry, because I mean, every company we've spoken to has said data governance is important to them, but nearly every single one has also said somehow it ends up not being a top priority, and until something really bad happens, right? When something really bad happens, it becomes a top priority, but until then it gets deferred. And so as we've been talking to organizations now where we provide both products, a transformation solution and a governance cataloging product as well. It seems like one of the reasons why the reception's been so high is because it forces the discussion of governance to be at the beginning of the life cycle instead of after the fact. And there's so many different ways that you can leverage that as you go through the journey of actually building out your data warehouse, your data project, that does it the right way or the way that things should have been done historically versus it always being this Band-Aid fix or after the fact, when it's too late type of implementation. And so I agree. It's been super exciting. What about you, Xavier? Yeah.
I was gonna say like one of the things that got me most excited at first when the AI hype kind of exploded was really getting the text to insights like capabilities. And I was like, this is so powerful. And when you see today the excitement about vibe coding and really getting like access to a set of like skills like out of nowhere, I thought that this was really, really powerful. And when I questioned myself, like, why am I so excited about this? Like, what is it that brings me confidence that this will happen, and why, like, deep down this is in line with my vision and where we want Castor to be or the industry to go, etc. And I think a big part of it was democratization. Like, I really believed, and the way that we entered the industry with Tristan, like historically we're data business people that then did like engineering studies, and we thought the world of coding and data was a world that was inaccessible to us. And then as we started learning, we realized it was like math and like code, which is like kind of some sort of like text and logic, right? And like having this ability to enable everyone with that skill set and being able to create things and get access to like insights like super fast, be taking decision fast and without having to go through like the years of learning. I was just so amazed by that. And I was like, if this is doable, like we need to like find a way to get there, because I see so much potential in that. The reality and what happened in the background as well is like there's so many things to get right before we get there. And a big part of it is like this, how do you like, is the investment of like defining and like getting all the governance and definitions in or trained in the assistant, is it worth it? And it's not always the case. Sometimes it's just too much work, or sometimes you just want to have a few like dashboards out there that are 100% trusted, rather than anything. So I'm still super excited, but sometimes it's like sometimes we're just not there yet, and building what we're doing, which is like strong foundations, whether it is for like data foundations or governance foundations, to get there is really, really important.
Yeah, it's all intertwined, right? Like in order to, like Satish was saying, like if you're just starting out a data project, first thing is just getting data ready to be consumed in the first place. But then once that's done, all the questions start getting asked around the quality of it. Is it trusted? And the audience gets a lot more broad. Different people who don't typically interact with data as frequently start to discover it or ask questions of it, make decisions off of it. And it just leads to so many more questions that sometimes lead to concerns, and those concerns need to be alleviated. And then as that trust gets built, the quality is high, I think the opportunities become endless. And AI is a big driver for that. AI is a big mission for a lot of organizations to leverage. And I feel very confident that we're helping push that agenda forward much faster than ever before for data companies right now. So yeah, it's really awesome. We got time for a couple more questions. I do want to acknowledge, like, coming out of this acquisition, like for those that were familiar with CastorDoc, like, what would you guys say has changed or will change now as a part of the acquisition?
For us
anything
founders,
that people should know? I would say for the Castor customers or companies that knew Castor.
Well, this opens up so many new opportunities. It's just emphasize everything that we were trying to do and get us closer and accelerate the entire roadmap and vision that we had. So, I mean, you've mentioned it a couple of times already, but we weren't forced to do that. We were lucky enough to be in a position where we chose and proactively went and get to meet you and realize that, because we felt like it was the best way for us to do something big. Ultimately, we're very ambitious people. We want something big for the catalog, for Coalesce as a whole. And we're really excited about what's ahead, because it's just accelerate the entire vision that we have. Looking at our belief building Castor and the vision that you have as well, it matches just perfectly. And both in terms of feature, product, vision, but more importantly as founders in terms of teams as well. I think that's something that we haven't acknowledged just yet, but the team has been amazing welcoming us, and it was amazing to start working with you. I haven't seen any negative thing. I'm still looking for, okay, what's under the carpet? Like, what is going to happen to us? It's not supposed to be this way, right? It's too positive for the moment.
It is.
What's missing?
What's the catch?
That's exactly how I felt. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when we first closed the acquisition and I was in France, I was like, each day that went by following, I was waiting for a surprise, like a bad surprise. And there wasn't any. And I talked to you guys like, hey, so like, what are the things you didn't share with me during the process as we were going through diligence with each other? And you both were like laughing, like, what are you talking about? Like, we've told you everything like, there wasn't anything we were trying to hide. And so I do think for anybody who's gone through an acquisition, like Satish and I, we've gone through a really, really disastrous one, which gave us a strong idea of what not to do in this situation. And I feel so fortunate to be able to go through an experience like this and feel that it's so positive, because I would say the vast majority of situations like this do not go that way. They usually are hyper chaotic. There's tons of politics. There's all these issues. Teams, have trouble integrating. Products have trouble integrating. Like, I've just felt so confident going through this journey with you both, and with Emery and Arnaud and everybody on the Castor side as well, that it was a perfect fit. I've often said it's like a fit like a glove type of experience here from beginning, from the first point. Arnaud messaged me on LinkedIn to talk about strategic opportunities. I've really enjoyed getting to know the team as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the future. Together. I think there's still so much to do, so much fun to have, and it should feel like the party that never ends. So cool. Absolutely. We got about 30 seconds left. Any last thoughts, guys?
Let's go.
I love it. That's right. That's the anthem. Let's fucking go. For anybody tuning in, hopefully volume's not loud or your kid's not in the room. And if so, apologies. Excuse our French, I must say.
Pardon my French.
Pardon my French. Amazing. Thanks, guys.
Quick note.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.